There you have a view. You have the chaos of war and refugees, displaced people. I think the most popular image of this is Les Miserables, but the translation of Les Miserables is not the miserable ones, but the dispossessed, the refugees, the people from Syria, men, women, children, living under intolerable conditions. And here you have refugees, here you have images of war. And here you have the world of Ian Hampton Finlay. There he is, with international, if you like, patrons of the arts. Ian Hampton Finlay is a genius, perhaps the #1 internationally recognized artist to come out of Scotland in the 20th century. A poet, a gardener, philosopher, an extraordinary human being. I took him to see this because he lived on a farm. This is another farm. It's a barn on a farm. This is how my archive looked. So you can see I need more space. Here you've got Joseph Beuys. There he is in Edinburgh, considering Arthur's Seat. And so I brought him to Edinburgh along with over 30 other artists who were living in and around Dusseldorf. And the images that they made were incredible. There are 20,000 human beings, many of them artists, represented in this archive. There are 2 million photographs. There are 4,750 artworks. There's a huge library. There is the whole story of Joseph Beuys. There's even the work of artists who've been influenced by Beuys, like Damien Hirst. There's the work of 2 great filmmakers, Sally Potter, Jackie Lansley. It's a story really of great artists like Alan Davey, Patrick Heron, and it's a story of exploration on the road to Michael Segi. What is Michael Segi? It's the name of a farm, because without the farmer's work, we don't have food. But also, Michael Segi, like so many names of farms, tells us the story of Scotland and the journeys between people living in Scotland and those living all over the European continent. And so you have Jimmy Ball and 2 of his guards here. On the one day he was allowed out after 17 years in prison, he chose to meet Joseph Beuys on that day in the poorhouse of Edinburgh, the medieval poorhouse, where the dispossessed people were left to die, people who were, if you like, suffering from illness, who were politically incorrect. Bedlam, it was called. this was my space. This is where I worked. I like working in conditions like that, not in the safety of an art gallery with clean white walls. And if you really want, this is the young Bill Viola, who knows a thing or two about video, the greatest exponent of video. He's one of my students. So you can come and study all these things. But as we move around here, we have to take into account the fact that it's almost too much. It's about a depth of understanding that's required. How do you deal with 60 years of art activity involving thousands upon thousands of artists? If you forget about them, you will tend to make art which is simply to do with the last 2 or 3 years. And it will be fashionable and stylish and everybody will think it's good, but you know it isn't. Really, it's about Joseph Beuys and his children. Did people know he was here with his children, playing with them at Edinburgh College of Art in 1970? Well, and Joseph, of course, survived the war, not wearing a British uniform, but the uniform of the Wehrmacht and the Luftwaffe, suffering from terrible wounds inflicted by the war. He said, show your wounds. That's what you've got to do as an artist. Show your wounds. If you don't show your wounds, you're not showing your weaknesses. Don't just show your strengths. And here, you see him with a letter he's received from a member of the special unit in Barlini prison, writing to him. And so he's in dialogue with prisoners, with the dispossessed, as well as successful artists. Who wants to speak to successful artists? You shouldn't. And he presented us with the image of the Volkswagen bus. And he presented us with the image of someone prepared to stand for 1 hour, motionless, in the image of a guard over the grave of the unknown artist. Not the unknown soldier, the unknown artist. Come this way.